It's been 40 years now since a World War II bomber plane was taken out of Greenwood. Years later, restoration efforts are still in effect to preserve the history inside. News 19's Nate Stanley spent the day at the Jim Hamilton Airport and has more about the plane's history.
It may not look like it, but the B-25 bomber you see behind me sat under Lake Greenwood in South Carolina for 39 years. For the past 10 plus years, the South Carolina Historic Aviation Foundation has been restoring it, a project they say is about passion and remembering our country's history.
A lot of places have got a plane like they had, but this was it.
Call it an obsession or call it historic curiosity, but Ken Berry's love for aircraft is palpable. He's the president of the South Carolina Historic Aviation Foundation and one of the volunteers who has spent years working on the B-25C bomber plane. He explains the history of the bomber begins in Columbia at the Columbia Metropolitan Airport.
Back in that day, it was called Columbia Army Air Base. It was used in Greenville at Donaldson Center, which in those days it was called Greenville Army Air Base. And so it was a training plane that was used back and forth between the bases. You know, they dropped bombs in Lake Murray.
He says on June 6, 1944, the plane crashed into the water at Lake Greenwood during one of those practice bombings where it disappeared for decades. Nearly 40 years later, the plane was recovered by a group of Navy deep divers, including Chuck Messick.
We had to do everything by feel, and then from there, after we found the aircraft, we put together a plan. 5 months after we found the plane, we put together the plan and came down and recovered her.
After being purchased by the Historic Aviation Foundation in 2012, the plane was moved to the Jim Hamilton Airport, where it's being refurbished by a group of volunteers. On Saturday, the foundation hosted an open house celebrating its history. Messick was amazed by how much the plane has changed since he found it and says the goal is to use this plane to educate younger generations on the sacrifices of those who served.
We lose a little bit of understanding of the sacrifices that really had to happen. And that sacrifice, it's going to be difficult for us today to do that. And I hope that we never have to. But you do better if you understand what really did happen at the time, to know that you don't want to be there.
The Historic Aviation's next open house is on September 9th. Reporting from the Jim Hamilton Airport, Nate Stanley, News 19, WLTX.